Ladies and gentlemen, hip-hop heads, truth seekers, and everyone in between, this is not a drill. What we're about to break down is arguably the most shocking relationship revelation in hip-hop since Jay-Z's elevator incident or Cardi B's "I filed for divorce, but maybe not" saga. But this time, it's not a rumor. It's not hearsay. It's a straight-up televised emotional exorcism from Remy Ma herself. And if you thought you knew the story of Remy and Papoose, the Bonnie and Clyde of the culture, then buckle up, because that love story may have just met its final fiery chapter. A leaked interview, never meant to see the light of day, has surfaced. In it, Remy Ma, calm and composed, sits down with a blank expression and a mug of what looks like green tea and proceeds to lay bare the kind of raw truth that makes even seasoned producers pause the recording. She looks into the camera and drops a line that instantly shattered the collective illusion. "I stayed loyal, but let's face it, the man was never made to please me." Yes, she said that, out loud, on camera, with zero hesitation. And just like that, the internet broke. Twitter imploded. TikTok went wild. Even Threads caught secondhand trauma. Everyone had one burning question. Did Remy Ma just publicly humiliate the man who rode for her harder than any partner in modern hip-hop history? What followed was not just a revelation. It was a full-on narrative unraveling. The hip-hop world, celebrity bloggers, and longtime fans found themselves dissecting every word, every facial expression, every syllable that spilled from Remy's lips in that now infamous interview. Because what was once a story of redemption and unwavering devotion was now being exposed as a relationship that may have been more one-sided than we ever imagined. A relationship where one partner was holding on for dear life and the other, already emotionally gone. Let's not get it twisted. For years, Remy and Papoose were the couple in hip-hop. When Remy went to prison in 2008, Papoose not only stayed by her side, he thrived in loyalty. He tattooed her name. He repped her in interviews. He didn't cheat, didn't disappear, didn't start dating someone else for clout or comfort. He was steadfast. Fans rooted for them not just because they were cute together, but because they symbolized resilience, commitment, and love through adversity. While other celebrity couples fell apart under spotlight pressure, Remy and Pap appeared unshakable. So to hear her say she was never truly happy, that she felt unfulfilled emotionally and physically, that, my friends, is a gut punch. And not just to Papoose, but to every fan who had put their faith in the idea that a loyal heart could conquer all. She didn't stop there. She followed it up with, "There's a difference between loving someone and being fulfilled. And honestly, I was never fulfilled, not emotionally or physically. The man simply didn't measure up." Let's pause, because that right there wasn't just a subtle jab. That was a direct hit to everything Papoose has built over the last decade. A man who made himself into the blueprint of loyalty is now trending for, well, apparently not measuring up. For those who have watched this couple for years, it felt like the rug had been pulled out from under our collective feet. As you can imagine, the fallout was instant. Within an hour, hashtag Remy Said Too Much was trending. Reaction videos were popping up faster than AI art. One particularly brutal TikTok stitched together a montage of Papoose's most romantic gestures, writing her name in freestyles, showing up to court, hyping her up at award shows, all set to heartbreaking piano music. The caption, "He came up short." The comment section, a war zone. Some users praised Remy for her honesty, for finally choosing herself. Others called her cruel, ungrateful, and selfish. Fans felt betrayed, not just for Papoose, but for the illusion they were all emotionally invested in. The Remy-Papoose love story was our escape. If they couldn't make it, who can? And in that heartbreak, we began to realize something else. This wasn't just about a breakup. This was about dismantling an ideal. The kind of partnership that was held up as proof that real love could survive anything. But what do you do when that very love begins to feel like a prison of its own? But let's be real, the signs weren't completely invisible. People started to whisper last year when the couple showed up at a red carpet event. Cameras caught Remy pulling back slightly as Papoose leaned in for a kiss. She laughed it off, saying she didn't want to mess up her lipstick. But the body language was undeniable. There was tension, discomfort, distance. Then came the assistant's anonymous tip. According to someone who worked closely with the couple, Remy had been emotionally checked out for a while. She would return from events with a lightness, a laughter that hadn't been there before. Events, notably, where she had been spotted with Easy the Block Captain. Friends close to the situation say that even when she was physically present with Papoose, her energy was clearly elsewhere. She would zone out mid-conversation, brush off his compliments, and rush to wrap up evenings together. If you thought this story couldn't get any messier, enter easy. Battle rapper, rising star. Alleged new love interest. Once his name entered the chat, social media became a crime scene. Screenshots, timelines, deep dives. Suddenly, everyone was looking at an old freestyle of his where he said, "Shout out to queens who still crave kings." At the time, it was clever wordplay. Now, it sounds like a coded message. A shout out to someone specific. Someone he wasn't supposed to be with. Easy poured fuel on the fire with a cryptic tweet. Only weak men fear strong women telling their truth. No tags, no names, but let's be honest, we all knew who he was talking about. And then came the receipts. Screenshots of DMs that allegedly show Remy reaching out to a publicist weeks before the interview was taped, asking for help in reframing her image. That changed everything. Because if this wasn't an accidental leak, if this was planned, then this wasn't just a confession. This was a calculated rebranding. A PR strategy to shed the wife image and emerge as a woman redefined. It was a masterclass in narrative control. One that had some applauding her boldness and others questioning her loyalty. Because when the spotlight turns into a sword, it can cut both ways. And just when we thought it couldn't get colder, a second part of the interview was leaked. This time, Remy goes beyond dissatisfaction. She performs an emotional autopsy on her marriage. No tears, no rage, just quiet detachment. She says, "I mistook loyalty for love. And the truth is, I felt more alone next to him than I did in a prison cell." That line hit like a thunderclap. It echoed through fan communities, through group chats, through every heart that had ever rooted for their love. She continues, "I would go to shows, do interviews, win awards, and come home to a man who didn't know how to hold me. Not physically, not emotionally. Like I was carrying our entire relationship in a suitcase while he held the door open and said, 'Good job.'" It's the kind of honesty that cuts through years of carefully curated public image. It wasn't just an ending. It was a full deconstruction of their dynamic. And suddenly, everything we thought we knew felt like a lie. And through it all, Papoose remained silent. No tweets, no statements. His Instagram has been inactive since before the leak. According to insiders, he was completely blindsided. He had no idea this interview existed, no idea it was going to be released, and no idea the love of his life would ever say such things about him in public. One source close to his team said, "He discovered the same thing we all did when he checked his phone and saw everyone laughing at his suffering." That, perhaps, is the most heartbreaking detail of all. Because whatever went wrong behind closed doors, Papoose always showed up publicly for Remy. Always. He protected her image. He lifted her name. He kept their family together. And now, he has to quietly endure one of the most humiliating public character assassinations we've seen in hip-hop. So what now? Is this a story about a woman freeing herself from a long-suffering dynamic? Or is it the public crucifixion of a man who stood by her through hell and back? The internet remains divided. Some hail Remy as brave, finally putting herself first. Others say she did too much, that she could have moved on without tearing him down. Maybe it's both. Maybe we're witnessing the messy, painful truth of a love story that outgrew itself. A fairy tale that was never quite as magical behind the scenes. One thing's for certain, this interview changed the way we see both Remy Ma and Papoose. She's not just the fierce rapper who survived prison and came back swinging. She's also a woman reckoning with years of emotional compromise. And he's no longer just the loyal husband. He's a man watching his legacy get rewritten in real time without his voice. We're left with the sobering realization that love, even when genuine, isn't always enough. So tell me, where do you stand? Is Remy reclaiming her power, or has she crossed the line? Is this emotional honesty, or is it strategic cruelty? Let me know in the comments. Because this story isn't over, not by a long shot. The hosts behind the leaked interview have gone silent. Their last post simply reads, "Y'all weren't supposed to hear that yet." Does that mean there's more footage? More truth bombs? More heartbreak? Only time will tell. But until then, we'll be here, watching, listening, and trying to make sense of how something so beautiful, so inspiring, could end in such public, painful ruin.